Hawkissimo, bringing you another starter guide to introduce you to the free rotation gods. I'm focusing on Clash, my favorite mode, Arena, Siege, and Joust. This is not a conquest guide, not a conquest build. The meta there is a bit different. The money is harder to come by, and your leveling is slower. In the casual modes, you're going to find that you have money coming faster and you're leveling faster as a result. That changes the builds that you would use. Okay, so let's hop right into this Celtic Hunter, and as always, we're going to start with the ability builder. Okay, so here you can see the progression that I have above. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. I will mention that Cern was designed with the idea that he was a hunter, but he was a hunter that could jungle. And the thought process behind him being able to jungle is really his passive. It's that when you're in melee, you're in hand-to-hand combat range, you're not just hitting the one target that you're shooting at, you're actually also doing bonus damage of 25% of your total damage to the other folks that are within that area of effect. So you don't trigger any of your other special effects that come from your items, but you're at least spreading out that damage, letting you clear jungle camps faster. So that was the thought process. I've played him in jungle, he works fine. I've played him in the carry role in Conquest, and he plays fine. Heck, I played him in the solo lane, and he plays fine. I'm one of those folks that thinks that he's a little bit OP, but, you know, whatever. So the progression order, I have you starting with Bramble Blast. I think that this is a great harassment tool. This ability very much reminds me of Scotty's ability where she casts that sheet of ice on the ground. You have very similar area of effect, very similar annoying CC stuff going on, some dot occurring. So I think of it like that. What's great though is that it has a very quick cooldown. It used to be 13 seconds, got changed up to 15 seconds, still very fast cast time. So we're going to prioritize that. Then I have you going into his one. His one, while you have 4 different abilities that are all within this, and you'll see the colors change on your fur, but also the glaive symbol that's there. So it's green for spring. It's, I don't even know what color, golden for summer, red for autumn, and blue for winter. I think you're going to find that most of the time you're going to stay in the summer, and the symbol on it kind of looks like a starburst, or you're going to cycle back to the green leaves for the healing while you're learning the god. It's not that the other abilities aren't useful, it's just that they're less useful than those two. I do want to mention that the autumn decay is not, you're going to proc it once and then want to rotate out of it if you're ever trying that. Finally, obviously, if your enemy is fleeing from you, feel free to cycle over to winter to give them that slow buff and keep that on them so that they're not able to run away from you. Likewise, if you need to run as your final shot, hit them with the slow burst, even a Bramble Blast turn, dash, get out of town. Okay, so the only other thing I'm going to mention here is that the reason I am not leveling his ultimate is very useful, but its useful is the CC effect that's coming in. In other words, that they're silenced and disarmed. It's not the 50 points of damage that you're getting per ability. I think it's much more valuable to be leveling all of these abilities and getting much higher effect out of them, and then really using this to help set up your team or confirm the final few hits that you're going to need. So that's my thought, having pulled him to diamond very quickly. Okay, so into the ability builder or the item builder. I'm going to show you a build and a B build, as I tend to do for these guides, so that you have 2 different ways to play the god while you're getting used to them. One nice thing about Cern is it's very hard to goof up his item builder. He plays pretty strong with everything. I've certainly seen people say, don't play crit on him, or don't do this on him, or don't do that on him. He works with everything. That said, here's where I'm going to suggest you go. So I'm going to definitely have you starting with Death Toll. That's the 800 gold starting item. That really is going to help you have Sustain by giving you mana and health back as you're meting out damage. It's also 20 damage for 800 gold, which is cheap. Go into your boots. As always, I think, when you're looking at consumables, you have your choices there, but I like certainly the Chalice. You return to Fountain a lot more in modes like Clash, so you get the refill aspect of it much more frequently than you would in Conquest, which makes that a bargain buy. I certainly will always advocate warding. If you've ever played with me, you see that I ward, the people in my clan ward, but I accept that that is not the commonplace occurrence in Clash and the casual mode, so if you want to start with 1 or 2 blue potions to take as a contingency basis, that's perfectly fine. I'm of the opinion that Shifter Shield is a very strong tool in your toolkit because it's both offense and it's defense, and really it's a lot of offense when you're above 50% health because it's 70 power, second highest power that you can have as a physical god. And then it shifts to, and while still providing you 15 physical and 15 magical defense. But then when you drop below 50% health, suddenly your damage drops, but your protections drop or increase to 50. And that's very powerful. It lets you box or sit there and trade exchanges with another hunter very well, because if they haven't built armor, and they most assuredly haven't built as much power as this item, you're hitting harder, you have some defense, and then even if you're both dropping below that 50% life total, suddenly your armor spikes up and you should be able to win that exchange. I think that attack speed works very well with Cern. He becomes kind of silly there. Keep in mind that, again, his ability to shift through those 4 seasons gives him more power on the summer stats, so it's almost like he has a free power item. So don't feel bad about going into Haste and Fatalis. It's still 10 pen, it's still stupid attack speed, provides you escape as well as chase down mechanic. I like it a lot on this particular god. Likewise, I also like moving into kin size after that. The 40 power is nice, the 15 attack speed is nice, but really it's the passive that's going to be doing a percentage of their overall health that's really going to play havoc on your enemy. Big advocate of having penetration. I gave you a little bit with Haste and Fatalis, but it's only 10 flat pen. This is the percentage pen in Titan's Bane. It's important to be countering people's natural physical progression that they gain as they grow in level, but also to counter armor that they've built, particularly those warriors and guardians. Finally, it is crucial in attacking objectives, and by objectives I mean towers, I mean phoenixes, I even mean the big monsters, and by big monsters I'm talking the Titan to win the game, I'm talking Apotheosis or Gold Fury or Fire Giant or any of that stuff that's out there. Your last pick is going to be when you sell your starter item. When you're in the store, you come down in the bottom section. I can't do it here because I'm just in the builder, but at the very bottom where the items are filling in, you highlight it, you hit square, you sell it, and then you'll pick up your last item. I'll cover those choices after I talk about relics, because you're going to get one at first and you're free, and you're going to get one at 12th for free. So here are 4 of the relics that I feel work very well. In Season 4, we see a carryover from the previous meta of getting Purification and Sanctuary, or Geas, or however the hell you want to say it, are still very strong. By all means, 4.10 nerfed Sundering Spear, but it's still pretty darn good. So if you want to go that in an aggressive format, you can. I don't think he needs it, frankly. I like the first 2. And then finally, I put Thorns in. Thorns is my go-to item if I really see a Loki on the other side, you know, because he ults on you and then he starts vomiting damage. You know, it's a good way to stop him from doing that. Throw Thorns on. Let him eat some of that reflected back at him while you start to burst him. More times than not, you'll see him stop attacking you and skitter off. And that's fine. You know, you didn't die, he didn't die. Great. You know, problem solved. But the other time is when you get ganked and suddenly you're facing, you know, 1-on-2, 1-on-3, you know, all those horrible situations. That's going to help you. So the defense line is where I always put my fill item or my counter build item, if you want to think about it there. You'll notice a theme here. I have 3 different items that have penetration. So I have Executioner here. It's attack speed, and it's a percentage pen that's available. That's certainly viable. And don't worry about stacking Executioner with Titan's Bane. The truth is you see the meta of Warriors and Guardians just stacking insane amounts of armor. So there is a use for it. And even if you weren't thinking of it as a penetration item, but you're thinking about it as an attack speed item that has power on it, you know, it does have that power. So there is utility there. Next we have Crusher. It's in the same tree as Brawler's Beatstick here. You know, it's 30 power. It's 15% attack speed. And it's got the 15 pens. So you'll see here if I sold this item and I put this on, my pen on the right hand column, you see it go from 10 to 25, and my attack speed is increasing as well. So that's fine. You'll get more attack speed here, as you notice. But flat pen is always great too, particularly when you're facing squishies. And by squishies, I really mean mages and hunters who haven't built armor. You're going to get more bang for your buck with this, even though it's a little less attack speed, because that pen is going to bring you closer to true damage. Plus, you're going to shred towers a little bit better. This pen doesn't particularly work on the objectives. If you see a healer, Brawler's Beatstick is fantastic. One of the nice things about Brawler's Beatstick on Cern in particular is that your summer stance is treated as ability damage, which means you're proccing the effect or the passive of Brawler's Beatstick every time you melee hit. So that's a 40% healing reduction for 8 seconds. And 8 seconds is an eternity. And when we say healing reduction, we mean all forms of healing, all forms of lifesteal. So I don't care whether we're talking about a potion, whether we're talking about a god's ability, whether we're talking about a lifesteal item, you're just you're reducing that by 40%. So very powerful there. And finally, if you want to splash into crit, I don't think there's anything wrong with going into Deathbringer. If you want a little bit more DPS, damage per second, there's nothing wrong with instead coming into Wind Demon. You'll actually get a little bit higher of a DPS because of the attack speed that comes with it. Plus, when you proc the crit, you're also getting an additional 20% attack and move speed. Either one is fine. Better burst, better overall DPS. Rage would be fine here. Malice actually is more damage over time than Deathbringer, but it is over that 3 seconds, so not quite the burst. But, you know, people have fallen out of favor with it, but the math works out that that's still a very fine item. So regardless, I'm just going to return us back to normal. So that would be the A build. So your B build is going to be still starting with the same stuff. So we're going to go into Death's Toll. We're going to go into Warrior Tabi. And I guess a note on the Warrior Tabi thing. No, I don't think it's horrible if you want to go into Ninja Tabi with Cern. He doesn't have attack speed in his ability build. So he has no steroid, as you'll hear people talk about it. So if you wanted to go into Ninja Tabi, I wouldn't tell you flat out that you're wrong. But keep in mind that it's a damage of 20 points of damage per hit. That's a significant amount of damage difference in your early levels. So it's why I advocate going Warrior Tabi to begin with. later, if you full built and then you sell it to go into Ninja, that's perfectly viable. Okay, so we would come down to the Relic line. And again, all 5 of these lines will show when you're in the store once you've set up this custom builder, which is why we go through this effort of setting up this template. Again, we would still be looking at Shifter Shield. We'd still be looking at Hasten Fatalis. You know what? If you wanted to flip the 2, I wouldn't complain. That's fine too. You know, here you're not hitting for as much damage with this version. Whoops, I generally delete out that crud since you don't see it in the store. You're not hitting for as much damage, but you can chase and run a little bit better, and at least you've gotten a flat pen. I happen to think that this is a better sequence. And in this version, I have you going crit. So again, we would go to Wind Demon to get the additional attack speed. You'll see that I went from 1.53 up to 1.63, but then when I get a crit, I'm getting 20% more. So you're going to just vomit out attack speed, but it's also movement speed. And you know, you had 10% movement speed through Hasten, so you're suddenly very, very fast. Plus, you have a ridiculous stash that does damage. So, you know, very good. I still like going into penetration. You know, I feel very strongly that a hunter's job is to carry in the late game, meaning do the damage for the team with their auto attacks and to help shred objectives. If you're not pushing tower, if you're not winning lane, if you're not able to kill the Titan, your kills are irrelevant and your assists are irrelevant. It's an objective-based game that minions and towers and enemy gods are simply delaying you shredding the tower, the Phoenix, the Titan, right? So that's why Titan's Bane would be there, and then you'd come in and sell your Death's Toll, and you'd come down to this line and build Deathbringer. So that would be the B build. I think I've covered a lot of the basics for him. You know, by all means, go out there and play him. Get used to the ability order sequence that I provided. I set the auto build for my abilities on more times than not, since I'm pretty happy with how I set it. And it's only in Conquest that I want to counter build, and in that case I turn it off. But I always manually build my items. But setting up this template means that it's the very first page of the store, so I don't need to go searching. And you want to minimize the time that you're in the store. If you're in the store for more than 3 seconds, you've lost lane presence. Every minion that's died, every camp that's died, every enemy god that's died, you haven't gotten the gold and the XP that you would have had you had presence in that lane, proximity in that lane. So that's why setting up this template is so important. By all means, if you felt that the information in this guide was helpful and useful, please click the like, click the bell to be notified when I release new videos. I will be putting out more and more videos to help people get started to casual mode, keeping in mind my videos are for casual mode. The others are for ranked matches and conquests, so the meta is different. Please give me a subscribe. If you have comments or questions, fill out the section below, and I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely fashion. I'm pretty much checking every day. Thank you very much for watching, and this is Hawkissimo signing out.